She's not missing a tooth, she's missing half her bloody mouth. I mean, it totally explains why she's so skinny, because the food clearly just falls out the side of her mouth when she eats.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here today to talk about The Real Housewives of Dubai, Season 2, Episode 4, Drama Queens. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So the episode kicks off with Tenen, and I love how we get a new housewife. We get to really learn all about them, learn who they are, their background, their families, their career, you know, all that shit. So I really enjoy that, especially when it's like a franchise like this, or like on New Jersey, how we have Danielle Cabral and Rachel Fuda. Like we know most of the other people, so we can really like take the time to like learn about these new people and hitting the scene and whatnot. So I like Tenen for the group on Real Housewives of Dubai. She and Lisa got into it towards the end of the episode. Lisa was totally overreacting for no fucking reason. It's like, okay, Lisa, like, let's chill the fuck out. But anyways, Tenen, she speaks on hosting all women boot camp kind of things. And she notes that, similarly to how, you know, Lisa opened up about how, you know, moving to Dubai and being an expat is like all glamorous, but you know, you're on like the other side of the world from everyone you fucking know. Like you're all by yourself. It's kind of like a struggle sometimes. And so Tenen was dealing with that when she moved over here to be with Rafie. And remember, back in LA, that's where she had her family, her friends, and her career. She was a singer. And you know, she gave it all up to come move to Dubai, be with Rafie. And so when she did that, you know, she didn't really have anything in Dubai. She noted that she would just kind of work out because there was nothing else to do. So she was like, let me host like a little group for women to come together and just exercise and form that like camaraderie and whatnot. And she also notes that, you know, while Dubai, you know, it has a lot of people from all over the world, it's considered a very progressive city, especially, you know, for the region it's in. But, you know, the UAE is a conservative Muslim country, and so there are locals who, like, don't feel comfortable working out in the same room as, like, men, or, like, you know, oh, do people only exercise to be sexy? Like, they're, like, ashamed. It's, like, trying to really work with them and help lead them to, like, this healthy lifestyle and, like, forming kinship with women and whatnot. So, I don't know, she kind of speaks on that pursuit. I think that's awesome for her, you know what I mean? Kind of just, like, doing your own thing and establishing that. Afterwards, she notes that, you know, Rafie really wants another child, specifically a son. And, you know, it's just so funny when that shit happens. Because, again, it's like the UAE, you can't even do, like, IVF and shit there. So it's like, it's really like a toss-up. Like, are you going to have a boy or a girl? You know, because if you do, like, IVF, you can kind of be like, oh, I want, like, a male embryo or, like, a female embryo. You know, like, that kind of thing. That's how Stanbury and Sergio, they're like, oh, we have a male embryo on ice, you know, so that's how they made that happen, because IVF. So yeah, it's like, what if we have another girl? It's gonna keep churning out kids till you have a boy, and he's like, oh, you know, we have no one to pass down our name. What if your son's gay, dude? Like, what if, like, okay, are you just like, is that your main focus? You have these very young children who are 3 and 1, and you're like, yeah, you guys can't pass on my name. Is that what's on your mind? That's fucking weird. That's the only thing that's on your mind right now at this point in time. Like, that's just kind of weird. But anyway, she speaks on that, and she also notes that she's really enjoying getting back into, like, career mode, business building mode. She's kind of like, I want to keep riding this wave and not just churn out another baby. And I don't know, I feel like this might be an issue in their marriage, especially with what we know of Rafie, what we've seen of him so far. Like, you know, he had Tenen, like, uproot her entire life to, like, basically choose between him and the career, and she chose him, went to Dubai with him, and it didn't seem like a joint kind of person, like, oh, I'm in London, you're over in LA, let's, like, move to Dubai. It was like, no, he was already there. He was already established. His daddy's business there and all that shit. Later on in the episode, she's like showing a dress that she wants to wear to the party or whatever. And he's like, oh, I don't like that. Just super quick. She was like, oh no, like not even discussing it. It's like shooting that shit down. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I get like just a kind of more traditional vibes from Rafie. You know what I mean? And that's why he's so focused on like, I need a son. I need an heir. And you know, there are a lot of people who have that mindset. I get it, but it's just like, dude, like, you have this, like, these healthy 2 children already. They're very young, and that's what's on your mind. It's just like, dude, like, ugh. We now get to a scene with Stanbury and Sergio packing up from Michael's guest room to move into their own place, and Sergio is bugging the fuck out of Stanbury. So she's on the phone with Barari, and so from what it sounds like, I think they're like just the entity that handles, you know, like the gas, the water, like in San Diego, they have like SDG&E, like San Diego Gas and Electric. They're like the main bitch to like go through for all, so it's kind of like, I think it's a similar kind of vibe for that. And everything is in Caroline's name because she notes that, you know, in order to have anything in your name in Dubai, you have to have a credit history and be employed for 3 years in that country. They don't care what you do outside of that country, but in the UAE. Basically being like an active contributing member to society for 3 years, essentially, before you can put anything in your name. So because of that, it's on Stanbury, it's all her own thing. And she's trying to handle all that shit. And Sergio, he's like, first of all, he goes and he's like, oh, give me a cuddle. And she's like, who the fuck wants to cuddle when we're in the middle of moving? Like, no. It's just like, no, I'm not doing that. Stanbury also noted last season that she's, you know, that prickly British old money upper crust. She's kind of like a bit pricklier than Sergio, who's very like, it's interesting because he's very traditional on the one hand. That's why later on he's like, oh, I'm the man of the house. You're going to have to, like, respect me. Or, like, you're going to have to, like, prioritize me. That's what he says. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, he's very, like, very lovey-dovey. He's a very sensitive. He's very, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's like he's bouncing both ends of that. But, so he's kind of bugging her as she's doing all this important shit. And he's like, oh, like, honey, how do we do, like, honey, like, he just keeps bugging her for, like, the stupidest shit. Like, oh, where should I put these bags? Where should I put these shoes? Like, just the dumbest shit. She's like, just take care of it. Just do it. I don't give a fuck. Just take care of it. Or he's like, honey. Just over and over again. It's like, dude. And Stanbury, she, like, loses her shit a little bit. Understandably so. She's like, you're being a little gnat. Like, just stop. Just fucking take care of it. I'm on the phone with Barari, blah, blah, blah. So they're kind of bickering and whatnot. Michael, you know, he's like in the other room just trying to fucking focus on his work or whatever, or hang out. And he's like, what is going on? And he's talking to Stanbury a little bit about it. And again, she's like, oh, I'm taking care of the Barari stuff. And she's elaborating on why it's so important. She's like, we can't have any of these things turned on until, like, this is all in order. I have to get this in order for us to functionally move into our new home. And because she's going into this further detail with Michael, her best friend, Sergio gets super pissed off. He feels left out of the loop and actually kind of jealous. He's like, oh, you're explaining everything to your husband, talking to Michael, and it's just like, so fucking nasty. And it's just like, at this point he says that he's the man of the house and he should be prioritized. Stanbury does not give a fuck. He's like, oh my gosh. And later on, Stanbury kind of admits that she and Sergio aren't really in it for the long haul. And it's kind of like, well, does Sergio know that? Like, why are you even getting married to him? Like, I don't know. And again, Sergio's the lovey-dovey, hopeless romantic kind of one. So I'm sure, like, I think Stanbury would have been fine with, like, not getting married. And Sergio's the one who wanted that. And I think that's fair. You know, he's a young guy. He's a hopeless romantic. He's super, like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. But it's like, are you even, like, I don't know. It's like, is she stringing him along to an extent? And yeah, Sergio's fucking annoying, as we see in this scene. But I mean, it's kind of like, is she, like, why even get married? Why even go through with, like, you know, having the embryo? Like, are you even gonna, like, I don't know. But anyways, Sergio asks, you know, how should I feel about us living here for 2 months? Basically being like, you know, I'm your husband and we're here living with some other dude, your friend. Like, I feel like, how should I feel about that? And Stanbury's like, you should be grateful and not make him feel like shit. It's just like, yeah. And again, it's like, why is Stanbury, like, you couldn't get, like, a fucking little apartment for a bit? I know shit's different in, like, Dubai, but it's like, dude, like, how tight is money, fool? Like, And because again, Stanbury and Sergio aren't broke. You know what I mean? Like, they can very much do their own thing. They're building this grand old house. Alan just didn't have the funds to get their own pad. It's just like, it's causing a lot of strain on their relationship. Stanbury, Sergio, and Michael are all over it. They're so ready for him to be fucking out. It's just like, they're done. We then see Ayana go for a forensic age estimation by teeth exam. She takes Lisa and Stanbury along as well. Because remember, Ayana, she like didn't have a birth certificate until she was like an adult. She was from this like tiny little village. So she's like, we didn't have that. She recently learned that her mom is 15 years older than they thought she was. So they're like, well, fuck, am I older too? Like, how old am I? What is my true age? So she's going for that. It's kind of like, fucking, like, when you want to know how old a tree is, like, count the rings. It's kind of like just a similar, like, you can just tell or get, like, an estimation of how old someone is by their teeth. And at this point, we learn that Ayana is hosting an upcoming Queen's dinner with everyone. So we'll see that later on in this episode. During the exam, she learns that she's missing 2 teeth. She thought she was only missing 1, but it turns out it's 2 or whatever, so talk about that. While in the waiting room, Stanbury opens up to Lisa a little bit about how she's side-eyeing Brooks, though they can ultimately coexist. And after the exam, Stanbury kind of pokes fun at Ayana, her missing teeth, because she sees the x-ray. Just a little funny shit like that.
I've never noticed it because she never smiled around me before.
We then get a scene of Brooks, her assistant, and her 10-year-old son. And Brooks says that her son is just at that age where he's going through a little phase. He's always has this attitude. But she kind of gets him in check a little bit because his birthday party is coming up. So she had him send over a list to the assistant or whatever. And the assistant was still taking care of all that shit. And the son, Adam, he was like, oh, I told you to send it to her. And Brooks was like, you don't tell her what to do. She's an adult. She doesn't work for you. She like kind of gets him in line with that. So yeah, she's kind of navigating that shit. We also learned that Brooks is the primary provider. And remember, she was in an abusive marriage with her ex-husband. And she left with like nothing essentially. And she notes that in the paperwork, she was able to get like full custody by basically agreeing that Zoran didn't have to take care of shit. And I'm kind of like, wow, like, and I would hope that he would still like go out of his way to still, especially now that they're on better terms, I would hope that he would like take care of like his school tuition, you know what I mean? Like shit like that. But it's like, wow, it just kind of really speaks to the situation that they were in at the time. This was like 9 years ago. Her son was very young, but yeah, it's all on her, and she knows that is why she works so hard. Because remember, a big conversation has been like, Brooks is working so hard, she's also playing so hard, but she's like, I have to work hard. It's all on me. Like, God, it's so crazy. I hope to God that Zoran is like at least stepping up now, even though he's legally doesn't have to. I hope that he's morally stepping up and taking care of that, because oh my goodness. We then see Sarah and her friend Saba meet at a cafe, and it's so cool because Sarah is from the UAE. She's Emirati. She's from there. And Saba, she's Pakistani. She sounds like she's from Britain, but I don't know if that's just like, but she's Pakistani. That's like her culture. And so while they're there, they're talking about this one kind of drink. And they're like, oh yeah, like the Arabs stole it from the Pakistanis. And so they're like, no, it's our thing too. Just kind of like talking about this, this really speaks like the history of like the area, because no one else is like from the UAE, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool to see some people with like more connections to the area, at least culturally or whatever, you know what I mean?
If you're ever in Dubai, you cannot not drink chai karak. It's a tea with milk and sugar. It's like a very traditional drink in the UAE, and it tastes so good.
For the record, the Arabs borrowed the karak chai recipe from Pakistan.
It's not her drink. It's an Emirati drink.
And again, Sarah speaks on their relationship. They're like really good friends. They're business partners. They're just really close to each other. She then introduces Akin, who he lives in Germany. He's like half German, half African. I don't know from where though. And yeah, she like met him while she was at an investor meeting, and he like immediately fucking caught her fancy. They've been chatting for like a month or two now, and they've hung out a couple of times just like as friends. We learned that he accepts her love of aliens because when they hung out, he like gave her a little alien figurine or whatever.
Since you love aliens.
Is that me?
That is so cute. Oh, thank you.
I love.
So they've been friends for a little bit, and after her horrible date with David recently, she's been like, maybe I should give Akeen a chance. Maybe we can like, you know, try to have this friendship grow into an actual relationship. So she's exploring that a little bit. We'll see them link up in the next episode. She brings her son along, and he asks, oh, are you gonna be my stepdad? It's like, Sarah, you are like, like this poor baby. It's like, dude, like, oh my God. It's like, Sarah, you're getting this kid's hopes up way too high. You're introducing him to these people way too early in their relationship. Like, oh my goodness. But anyways, Stanbury and Sergio, they are finally in their new home, and they have everyone under one roof again, because the kids were like, I'm not fucking staying at Michael's, I'm going to my dad's house. So they were there, so Stanbury's excited to have everyone under one roof. It isn't 100% ready yet, but they're like, you know what, fuck it, we're moving in, we're doing it. And at this point, Sergio apologizes for his behavior earlier, rightfully so. I hope he also apologizes to Michael, you know, just saying that. We then see Tenen at home, and she speaks on all the at-home help she has here in Dubai. She's like, you know, I have a chef, a driver, nannies, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, you can't get that kind of help in the States. And it's like, yes, you can. The difference is that you have to, like, provide, like, benefits and, like, shit like that, whereas in the UAE, you don't. It's like, it's easier to find cheap, overturnable labor, because, again, there are allegations that Dubai, in particular, is built on modern slave labor. Mostly through the exploitation of people in Southern Asia, so like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, poorer parts of Southeastern Asia, poorer parts of Africa. And it's just like, okay, Tenen. And she's like, oh, it's a luxury to have so much help. It's like, yeah, it's like so easy to fucking, like, it's, okay, girl. You could definitely, like, the rich have drivers and chefs and nannies and assistants in the States. But it's a luxury in Dubai because it's easier to find cheap, exploitable labor, is basically what I'm getting at. But anyways, while Tenen is struggling to bake, it is like actually quite fucking pitiful.
Should I just wing it?
That's what I do. Yes.
Does that? No, that looks like a quarter of a cup. No.
Look at you. You're a disaster.
Can I put aluminum in the oven?
Yes, you can.
I can. Okay.
Rafie shares that Sergio opened up about feeling he's disrespected by Stanbury's daughter, Yasmin, during a little guys' night. First of all, I am very glad this guys' night is being brought to our attention in a flashback and not a forced on-camera scene. I fucking love that. And yeah, so they kind of dive into that, and Rafie's like, you know, we don't really have experience raising kids who aren't ours. But also, mind you, Rafie's kids are very young. Lisa's sons with Rich, you know, they're very young as well. The oldest is like 9 or 10. Like, they don't have experience raising fucking 17-year-old teenage girls who, again, like, aren't biologically yours. So they're not gonna, like, respect you the same way. But it's just like, you know, there's only so much advice they can actually give. But, yeah, and while bringing up, like, the situation between Yasmin and Sergio, Tenen brings up some of her comments at the party. Like, oh, Sergio, you can finally fulfill your lifelong dream of wearing a dress. Or like, oh, you're a bit clingy, you follow my mom like a lost puppy. And it's just like, so yeah, they kind of talk about that for a little bit. It'll come up again later on. And it's now the night of Ayana's Queen's dinner. She arrives like an hour before everyone else, has a little bit of a party by herself, if you will.
I can entertain myself without anybody.
And this party is being held at the Atlantis Royale Hotel, where the Beyonce concert was. So of course, when everyone else arrives, the whole VVIP conversation comes up again. Everyone's fucking over it though. Lisa's mom returned to Miami, and she has no plans of relocating to Dubai. So Lisa's kind of bummed out about that, but she shares that she's not giving up yet. And it's like, Lisa, you uprooted your life and moved halfway across the world, like, because you fucking wanted to. Actually, not even clear on the other end of the world, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's like, just because you did that doesn't mean your mom has to. Like, let her do her own thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's selfish of Lisa to ask her mom to, like, move to Dubai. Like, you made that decision. Like, your mom, like, now you're forcing your mother to. And granted, it looks like Tenen's family, they're starting to come to Dubai a lot more often. But it's like, that's not the case for every expat. But anyways, things feel kind of awkward and tense at the table. And eventually, Ayana kind of asks the Carolines, hey, is everything all good? What's going on between you guys? And they both say that they're fine, though Stanbury acknowledges that they're kind of in a bit of a cold war right now. You know, they're both kind of over each other, and they're just kind of like, it is what it is. Though they're able to coexist, even though it feels kind of tense, but you know, whatever. Sarah then tells the group about Akeem before Ayana introduces a game, basically just centered on hyping each other up and saying what you think is queen-like about the other person, what you admire about them, blah, blah, blah. During this game, Ayana and Brooks share very kind words for each other, which has Lisa and Stanbury totally flabbergasted. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Are you guys on shrooms? Like, why are you guys getting along? But it's a queen's dinner, so they're acting queen-like. Everyone except Lisa, that is. During Tenen's turn, she addresses Stanbury and says that she's an inspiration to so many women. And in the confessional, Lisa is just fucking laughing at this. She's like, oh, such an inspiration, a 50-year-old influencer. Oh, it's like, bitch, you're here fucking begging your grown-ass mother to move across the world to be with you. And it's like, what are you, Lisa? You're not like laying in the bed that you made. Like, you fucking, either move back home, be with your family, but don't make them fucking move over here. Don't try to guilt trip them to that shit. What are you, Lisa? That's fucking pathetic. And it isn't even something that would, like, better the mother's quality of life. It's not like, oh, mom, like, I really want you to move in with me. Like, you're getting older. Or, like, it's not even, like, something like that. It's like, mom, come over. Like, I want you to, like, be a bigger part in my kids' lives, which is, you know, makes sense. But it's like, you are the reason she's not. You moved away. Like, this isn't your mother's problem. And again, it would be so different if Lisa's mother were like, you know, retired, just kind of doing her own thing, just like in her twilight years. And Lisa was like, hey, I really want you to be over here, to be with me. But it is not that situation at all. Her mom is still young, still doing her thing, still working, still like, you know, and she wants to keep her life in the US. Anyway, there's a little tangent. I'm just really annoyed with Lisa right now. Since the last episode, it's been like, what are you doing, girl? But you know, whatever. After the game, Tenen asks Stanbury to step aside, and she mentions, you know, what Sergio talked about, a guy's night. And she just said that Sergio feels disrespected by Stanbury's children and asks if they're okay. And Stanbury's like, no, we're fine. It's just, you know, it's an adjustment for everyone. You know, I met Sergio when he was 24 years old and like a bachelor, and now he has 3 little kids, you know, 3 stepkids. And because Sergio is closer in age to Yasmin than Stanbury, it's kind of like weird waters to navigate. It's like, okay, so it's like, you're my stepfather, but you're like more like an older brother kind of vibe. It's like just weird new territory for everyone. Stanbury also explains that she's talked to Yasmin a little bit because they both have similar, dry, sensitive humor, basically is how she puts it. And she had to explain to Yasmin that, like, hey, some of the jokes that I make to Sergio are not appropriate for you to make to Sergio. That's disrespectful. She knows that she has talked to her about it, but, like, there's only so much she can do. She also says Sergio has to understand that Yasmin is a 17-year-old girl. She's gonna be a nightmare for everyone. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and I think that's fair to point out, you know what I mean? Also, it's like, she's gonna be off to fucking college in the US soon, you know what I mean? But not that that should, like, he shouldn't be, like, counting the days off that she leaves, but I'm just kind of saying that, like, this isn't a forever issue, you know what I mean? even if she doesn't fucking like you, she won't, like, be there all the time. Like, it's just new territory. Again, like Brooke said with her son, he's, like, in that age, like, he's just going through a phase. The same can be said about Yasmin, you know what I mean? So it's kind of just new territory. And, you know, in the confessional, Stanbury says that she's kind of taken aback because she doesn't know Tenen very well, but she appreciates that she pulled her aside and brought this up. So she thinks that was good looking out. She's also upset with Sergio for bringing up their private business and talking about her children to people who they don't really know very well, so that'll be kind of an issue. Sergio and Stanbury just their relationship just does not come across as super great in this episode, but you know, whatever. And as Tenen and Stanbury are chatting on the side, everyone at the table is kind of like, what are they talking about? Blah, 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 blah. What's going on? Why do they have to go step aside? So it's kind of that conversation bubbling up. Anyways, Stanbury then says that the door is always open if Sergio wants to leave. And this kind of takes Tenen back a little bit. She's like, you guys just got married and you're already ready for him to fucking bounce? Like, what the fuck? And, you know, Stanbury goes on to admit that, like, she always kind of told herself that, I mean, yes, it might be like a fucking 10, 15-year kind of thing, but I mean, like, after that, you know, it is what it is. Like, I mean, if it ends, it ends. And she says that, you know, when she's gray, Sergio can go find some little hot young piece of ass and she can get with some old sugar daddy. It's all good, but she's kind of like, this isn't a forever kind of thing, which is a vibe I've been kind of getting, but it's like, well, why get married then? Though I do think that was Sergio's push. Like, I think Stanbury would have been fine with never getting married to Sergio, but he wanted it. And she's like, he knows how to sling dick, I'm getting with it. Like, I don't fucking know. But yeah, and then once they return to the table, Lisa has 20 fucking questions. And Tenen kind of shuts Lisa down, and ultimately Lisa gets pissed off. She calls Tenen a bitch and says she's acting bitchy. She says it like multiple times, and it's just this whole fucking thing. She's totally overreacting, and she speculates that Tenen was essentially doing Brooks dirty by pulling Stanbury aside and chatting. And she's like, Ayana and I would never do that to each other. Okay, bitch, so... And we know that Lisa and Ayana fall into some drama later on this season. It was just so weird. And again, maybe she's upset because her mom is moving to Dubai. I don't know where this is coming from with Lisa. But anyways, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, stay tuned for more. Thanks again. Bye.